The ocean has always hidden stories that humanity was never truly meant to forget. Beneath the dark waters of the River Plate estuary, where the cold currents of the Atlantic meet the muddy rivers of South America, rests one of the most mysterious warships ever built, German cruiser Admiral Graf Spee. For more than 80 years, the legendary German vessel has remained trapped beneath layers of rust, silence, and time. The sea slowly consumed its steel hull, covering its once feared guns with mud and marine life. Yet despite the passing decades, the name Graf Spee still echoes through naval history like a ghost that refuses to disappear. Historians speak about it, divers search for it, filmmakers dream of it, and many still wonder what secrets may remain hidden inside the wreck resting below the surface. Tonight, imagine something extraordinary. Imagine a future where humanity finally decides to bring Graf Spee back from the deep, not as a weapon of war, but as a living monument to history itself. It begins quietly. In the early hours before sunrise, giant salvage ships appear off the coast near Montevideo. Their lights glow softly through the heavy ocean fog, while massive cranes stand like steel giants above the dark water. Around them, support vessels drift carefully in silence as engineers and historians prepare for an operation unlike anything attempted before. The sea is calm, but beneath the surface lies a battlefield frozen in time. Sonar scans slowly map the wreck site, while underwater robots descend into the murky depths. Visibility is almost non-existent. Thick mud covers large portions of the wreck, and years of corrosion have weakened the ship's structure. Every movement must be slow and precise. One wrong decision could destroy what remains of the legendary vessel forever. As robotic arms begin removing layers of sediment, the first outlines of Graf Spee emerge from the darkness. At first, only fragments appear: twisted railings, broken steel plates, sections of the hull buried beneath decades of mud. But gradually, the unmistakable shape of the German warship begins to reveal itself once more. The discovery sends chills through everyone watching from the surface. Even after nearly a century underwater, Graf Spee still looks powerful. The massive armored hull, scarred by battle and time, remains larger than many had imagined. Rust drips from shattered openings where seawater has flowed endlessly for decades. Small fish swim through the empty corridors where German sailors once walked during the opening days of World War II. Engineers know immediately that lifting the ship will be incredibly dangerous. The steel has become fragile. Entire sections could collapse under their own weight once removed from the support of the seabed. To prevent disaster, huge support frames are carefully positioned around the wreck. Massive cables are threaded beneath surviving structural sections, while cranes prepare for the most difficult stage of the operation. Then comes the moment the world has waited for. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Graf Spee begins to rise. The sea around the wreck churns violently as thousands of tons of steel break free from the mud that held the ship prisoner for generations. Water pours from shattered compartments while dark clouds of sediment explode into the surrounding ocean. Crew members on board the salvage vessels stand frozen in silence, watching history awaken before their eyes. As the upper decks emerge from the water, the atmosphere changes completely. It no longer feels like a simple recovery mission. It feels as though the ghost of another era is returning to the world of the living. The giant gun turrets appear first, covered in coral and marine growth. Their barrels still point toward the horizon exactly as they did during the ship's final hours in 1939. Burn marks from the famous Battle of the River Plate remain visible across parts of the hull. Torn steel plates reveal scars from British shell impacts that forever changed the ship's fate. For a brief moment, nobody speaks. The only sound is the wind moving across the Atlantic and the creaking of ancient steel suspended above the water. Once stabilized, Graf Spee is transferred to a specially constructed floating dry dock where the long process of preservation begins. Historians, marine archaeologists, and restoration experts from around the world gather to study the wreck in person. Some walk silently across the damaged decks in disbelief. Others simply stare at the ship, overwhelmed by the realization that they are standing aboard one of the most legendary warships in history. The restoration project quickly becomes one of the most ambitious historical preservation efforts ever attempted. Every piece of steel is scanned in 3 dimensions. Advanced technology is used to analyze corrosion levels and determine which sections can be saved. Specialists begin carefully removing salt crystals embedded deep within the metal to prevent further decay once exposed to air. Inside the wreck, discoveries begin to emerge. Old ammunition storage compartments are found partially intact. Rusted personal belongings belonging to sailors appear beneath collapsed debris. Broken communication systems, shattered navigation equipment, and damaged engine components tell silent stories about the ship's final moments. In one flooded officer's cabin, restoration teams discover fragments of handwritten documents sealed inside metal containers. Though heavily damaged by water, some pages remain partially readable. Historians become obsessed with the possibility that undiscovered wartime information may still survive inside the wreck. Rumors begin spreading online that Graf Spee could still contain classified naval records hidden somewhere deep within its sealed compartments. As restoration continues, the world watches every update with fascination. Millions follow the project through documentaries and live broadcasts. What began as a salvage operation slowly transforms into something far more emotional. Graf Spee becomes a symbol of memory itself, a reminder that history never fully disappears, no matter how deeply it sinks beneath the ocean. Years later, the impossible finally becomes reality. Graf Spee opens to the public as the centerpiece of a massive maritime museum built near the Atlantic coastline. Visitors arrive from around the world to witness the resurrected warship for themselves. Long steel walkways guide guests toward the enormous vessel while soft ocean mist drifts across the harbor. Standing beside the ship is overwhelming. Even restored, Graf Spee still feels intimidating. Its massive guns tower above the docks, while the dark steel hull casts enormous shadows over the water below. Yet there is also sadness surrounding the vessel, a feeling that the ship carries the weight of countless untold stories within its steel walls. Inside the museum, restored crew quarters reveal how German sailors lived during long Atlantic patrols. Narrow sleeping areas, preserved equipment, and recreated radio rooms immerse visitors in life aboard the ship during 1939. Audio systems quietly play the sounds of engines, distant alarms, and crashing waves, creating the sensation that the ship itself is alive once again. One of the most emotional sections focuses on Captain Hans Langsdorff, the man who ultimately ordered the ship to be scuttled rather than sacrifice his crew in a hopeless battle. Visitors learn about his final days, his difficult decision, and the tragedy that followed shortly afterward. Many leave the exhibit in silence, reflecting on the human cost of war beyond the explosions and battles recorded in history books. The museum's centerpiece becomes an immersive recreation of the Battle of the River Plate. Through advanced projection systems and virtual reality technology, guests witness the terrifying naval battle from inside the ship itself. Giant artillery flashes illuminate dark corridors while simulated impacts shake the decks beneath their feet. Smoke, sound, and light recreate the chaos of naval warfare so realistically that many visitors describe the experience as deeply unsettling. But despite all the restoration work, something strange continues to surround Graf Spee. Security guards working night shifts sometimes report hearing unexplained metallic sounds echoing through empty corridors long after the museum closes. Divers performing maintenance beneath the hull occasionally describe sudden feelings of panic while swimming near sealed compartments. Electronic equipment has reportedly malfunctioned multiple times around specific areas of the ship for reasons nobody fully understands. Most experts dismiss these stories as imagination or technical coincidence. Yet the rumors continue to grow. Online discussions become filled with theories about hidden wartime secrets still trapped inside the vessel. Some believe secret documents may remain undiscovered somewhere deep within the wreck. Others speculate that portions of the ship were never fully explored during restoration because certain compartments became too dangerous to enter safely. And then there is the biggest mystery of all. Several areas inside Graf Spee remain permanently sealed to the public. Officially, museum authorities claim those sections are structurally unstable and unsafe for visitors. But some historians quietly question whether that explanation tells the full story. Why were certain recovered documents never publicly released? Why do restoration workers refuse to discuss what was found inside a flooded lower compartment near the engine section? Even today, nobody truly knows everything that still lies hidden within Graf Spee. Perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why the ship continues to fascinate the world. It is more than steel, weapons, or military history. Graf Spee represents memory, tragedy, sacrifice, and a terrifying realization that some parts of the past may never fully reveal themselves. And maybe the ocean never intended for humanity to recover the ship at all. Because sometimes when visitors stand alone on the restored deck during the evening hours, staring out toward the dark Atlantic horizon, they describe an impossible feeling. For just a brief second, it almost seems as though the ship is still waiting for orders, still preparing for one final voyage into the unknown. But what do you think? If Graf Spee were truly salvaged and restored into a museum, would you want to walk its silent corridors yourself? Do you believe hidden wartime secrets could still remain trapped somewhere inside the ship after all these years? And if the ocean guarded this vessel for nearly a century, perhaps there was a reason some mysteries were never meant to return to the surface.